I'd like to welcome all of you to the proceedings of the Grand Rapids Public School Board of Education. It is Monday, July 21st. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Ross, can you please call the roll?
Pastor Moody.
Present.
Reverend Matias.
Present.
Mr. LeGrand.
Yes.
Dr. Baker.
Here.
Ms. Slade.
Present.
Mr. Ross, present. Dr. Randalls. And Mr. O'Connor.
Present.
And President Falk.
Present.
We have a quorum with 8 accounted for.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Do I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Support for that? Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Next on the agenda is celebrations.
Yes.
I should say Ms. Evans is sitting in for our superintendent, who is taking a little bit of time off.
Well-deserved time.
Yes,
She's
absolutely.
a very hardworking lady. President Falk, I'd like to bring Ron Gorman up, and he will in turn introduce Friends of the District from Worldwide Wolverine, who work along with our district personnel and Habitat for Humanities. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. President Falk, members of the board, Mrs. Evans. Tonight we're here to celebrate the accomplishments of Innovation Central, specifically the students from the Academy of Design and Construction. At this time, I'd like to bring Mr. Mark Frost, principal of Innovation Central. Mr. Frost. At the conclusion of the recent school year, our students built and remodeled not one, but 2 homes in the Black Hills neighborhood on the southwest side of Grand Rapids. This is phenomenal work that's taking place, not only at Innovation Central High School, but also in the Academy of Design and Construction. What a wonderful experience it's been for our students, and I'd love for you, if when they're building homes next year, if you could, maybe take the opportunity to go check out some of the sites. It's absolutely phenomenal. The students from Innovation Central, take their core classes in the morning, eat lunch, and then head right to the job site. And you see a yellow bus pulling up in the Black Hills, and you see 15 or 20 Innovation Central students getting off with their tool belts and looking really sharp, but heading into the house. And then what was pretty awesome was that the students were working incredibly hard the entire time. But just like a normal class period, when they saw the yellow bus pull up, one leader in the group said, "Okay, everybody, it's time to go." Loaded their tool belts up, headed out the door, and right back to Innovation Central High School. So a class that is contributing to the community. And you have to see these 2 homes in the Black Hills neighborhood. Really beautified the street, and it's real life learning, and we are being innovative at Innovation Central. Yeah, Mr. Frost?
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. Mrs. Evans, President Falb, members of the board. It gives me great pleasure to celebrate the Academy for Design and Construction tonight, and to celebrate our connection with the community partners, for which we are very, very grateful. The Academy for Design and Construction is a center of innovation heading into its 6th year. It's a program in which students learn in 9th and 10th grade how to design and construct buildings and homes, among several other things. The students are able to apply their knowledge in their 11th and 12th grade, either through a design class or through the construction class, which is the highlight of tonight, in which they help build a Habitat for Humanity home. It is service learning at its finest, in which we give back directly to the community. At this point, I would like to introduce some people who are going to speak on this tonight. The first person I'd like to introduce is Mrs. Connie O'Toole. Connie O'Toole is a Director of Construction Operations for Habitat for Humanity of Kent County, and she will talk about the Habitat for Humanity home owner process and why it's important to involve students in the process of building this home. Ms. O'Toole.
Thanks, Mark. Good morning, good afternoon and evening here. So the students, it's fantastic. They build or rehab houses for our Habitat families. And we love it, we enjoy it, our families enjoy it themselves. But our Habitat families are qualified home buyers. They have to have a need for housing, a willingness to partner, and an ability to pay. Excuse me, I'm a little nervous here. And so the students really see the benefit of working from beginning to end. It's a wonderful situation. But they're building LEED certified homes. So they're Energy Star, they're LEED certified. And we need the work in the field with new construction trades. So it's really important to train the students.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Ms. O'Toole. Now I'd like to, if he's, okay, Mr. Belden is coming. He's our construction teacher. He will be here. But I'd like to introduce now student, Academy for Design and Construction student Edgar Meneses. Edgar? Edgar is going to relate to you the growth he sees in himself and his classmates while going through this process. He went through this process last year in a refab home, and next year they're going to build a home from the ground up. Edgar.
Thank you. Good afternoon. And I just like to say that the construction industry for the Innovation Center is just something amazing. And I think everybody, any students would like to participate, especially in the construction, if I like to brag, because you get to see the building come up and how before it looked and after it looked. Just seeing the transition from beginning to end is just an extraordinary, it's amazing feeling to see how you build something that someone's going to live in there and just assure that it's going to be looking good. And not only that, but the way it looked in the neighborhood, it was outstanding. What I learned from this program and how it's going is from what I see for me growing up as a student, as maturing up, having the things done on time in certain time frames, knowing you have to get it done right because other people will be living there, so it has to be done right. Also, the teacher and the environment of having a teamwork ethic and getting along with everybody is just something that I don't think a lot of schools get along with or know about this. But in that housing, building the house just has a feeling that's just amazing. Over the summer, I've been thinking of going around the neighborhoods and seeing housing beginning and all that, and just me knowing that I know certain traits of that other students or other people wouldn't know, and just like it gives me an anxiety to go out there and just start building, but I can't. But I'm really excited for this school year since we're doing like Mr. Frost said, a ground up operation. So this year I'll be able to look how it becomes from framing the house and then start putting in walls, the certain studs or the roofing. I'll be able to learn both sides of remodeling and doing it from ground up. That way, when I get out of high school, I can go into the construction industry and just already know what I have to do, and the knowledge of you having the tools that I've learned how to use them in the proper way. So I think that's just the amazing part of Innovation Central and the Academy of Design and Construction.
Thank you very much, Edgar. You know, I just want to say Edgar's
His parents are here too, right?
Yeah.
And I just want to say Edgar's a representative of all the students in Academy for Design and Construction, really dedicated and really love what they're doing. At this point, I'd like to introduce Mr. David Belden. Mr. Belden is a teacher at Innovation Central for the Academy for Design and Construction and focuses on construction at the Habitat for Humanity House. Mr. Belden described the growth he sees in the students during the year, as well as their work on the Habitat for Humanity House.
I'd just like to thank Edgar. He's a great student, honestly, just like, and you know, there's so many students that are great out there. They're just like unbelievable. I'm not kidding you. If you guys could come out and see, and I'd love you guys, all of you, to come out and see the house and see what they do, because it is amazing. And you don't really know education. until you come out there and see what's going on there, how enthusiastic they are. It's not a math class. It's not where they're sitting there going, oh my gosh, scratching their head. Because I had math class, and I was like, I was scratching my head going, oh, why does anybody need this? But they are like real world hands-on, and it is amazing, honestly amazing. And so I'd like to thank Edgar. But I'd just like to say, like, the kids we had a bad winter, as all of you know. Okay, and it was like 8 inches of snow, and those kids were out there working their tails off. They worked hard. They didn't complain. They just worked and worked and worked and worked, and they were so excited about being out there, honestly, and it was amazing. And so I just like to thank them, first of all, because like I sometimes I credit myself as a good teacher, but I'm really not. I just have really good students. That's the honest truth of the matter. So but they're learning a lot of things out there. They're learning framing, trim work, even painting, roofing, siding. They're getting a lot of skills, okay? And they can go on to like Grand Rapids Community College and take class there. We have students from last year that took a class at Grand Rapids Community College, and they're working for Chrisman Builders right now. They're just like it's really good program. Honestly, it's just like amazing. And I wouldn't be saying this other than I think I have great kids out there, and you guys really should come out there and see it. It's amazing how they work, isn't it? I mean, I mean, he's been out there, and it's like what do they do? They're just working all the time. They're just like they're gung ho on it. So it is exciting. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Belden, but he's being modest when he's a tremendous teacher, great organization there, but I will second what he says about the students. And it's not an idle invitation. If you want to join me and walk around with them, because what you'll see is you'll come around the corner and see 3 students who are working, not standing around. You go in the basement and see the students working there. You'll see, I rolled up when it was 8 degrees outside, and they're doing siding. All the students are outside, so it's really a great workforce. It's a great atmosphere for those kids in which to work. It really is. So thank you, Mr. Belden.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
How many girls were part of the team, or part of the students?
Yeah.
I'm curious, I'm sorry.
We started out with 3. We ended up with 1. So yeah. But the girl is really good, Maria Morales. She's like gung ho. We have a lot of girls next year. And that's a great question because, and I'm really trying to encourage girls to come out. But we next year we have a lot of girls in proportion. How many we have? But the girls that left, the 2 girls that left, they went to Union. They loved the program. They loved it. But they decided to go to Union. They were like lost at Central or something. I don't know what it was. It was like shock or something for them. I'm not sure. But we are really encouraging girls to come in, and it is great. Like Maria is like a great student, and every girl I've had in the past has been incredible. They're just like ready to work. They're just awesome. It really is.
What's the address of these homes?
Sorry?
The address.
Well, okay, this one was 741 Merrill Street. We're actually building a new house next year, and it's on the next street over. And if I can talk to you afterwards, I'll give you the address. I'll give you all you guys the address, because we're building a brand new house. So it's pretty exciting, but it's the one street over, and I don't remember what the street is. But it's going to be exciting because, and part of the thing is that for the last 2 years we did a remodel, and these kids are in the program 2 years. They're building 2 years, and it's so exciting for me that they get to build a new house this year and a remodel next year. And I think that's a good alternative or alternate thing to do, because it is, if they can build a new one this year and the next year do a remodel and go back and forth, it would be really great. So I will get you that dress, absolutely, because I'd love you guys to come out, because you'll be amazed what they do, okay? It's not an algebraic equation, but,
And
sorry?
The fall. How about the fall?
Yeah,
starts in
exactly.
the fall.
Yeah, come in the fall or the spring. Okay. Hopefully we'll have a great winter this year, but it was a hard winter, and I'm really thankful for Wolverine, because they donated all that equipment, all that jackets and, boots and all that stuff. It was awesome, because those kids were out there in tennis shoes. And I was like, what's going on here? Why do you have tennis shoes on? What's the matter with you? And they were like, we don't have anything else. That's all we have. So it was just really great. It brought tears to my eyes, honestly. So,
And that leads me to my next introduction. Is the next person that we have is Ms. Carrie Hill. She is a senior shoe designer for Wolverine Worldwide, and she will talk about her company's involvement with the Academy for Design and Construction and their very generous donation. Ms. Hill.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
So this is exciting for me on a personal note. I know what it's like to create something and not see a tangible product. So to see these kids actually building homes and seeing results is exciting at their age. I remember just drawing things all the time on paper, and then you're just waiting to actually see that product made. So this is something I personally would like to keep Wolverine involved with. The collab between the school and Wolverine was just a win-win from the beginning, because, local talented kids meets local brand who's trying to seek youth in our market, and, it just made a good marriage from the get-go. And, I think that to ask these kids to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe in the middle of the school year, given the awful winter, it's a lot to ask these kids. It's a lot to ask their parents. And, so I can keep voicing, as long as I'm part of Wolverine, how important this was, and just how it as big as Wolverine Worldwide is, we're a global company, actually the largest footwear company of non-athletic shoes in the world. To have it come down to a local community level I think says a lot about the brand. So this is just something that I personally am very proud of, and I think that it's made a very good impact on the kids. I think that in the future, as long as Gideon Sanders and I are connected through the College of Urban Education, is the board that him and I both serve on for Davenport, that we'll just keep the communication going. So.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Hill. I would now like to bring back Ms. O'Toole just for a few closing remarks.
So I hope you got a feeling for just the excitement of the program, and it's just helping to provide housing for us, and seeing the students, by the way, their first day on site with their Wolverine gear on was just a beautiful sight. So, but thank you for listening to us, and it's a great partnership. I hope it continues.
Okay, once again, we're thankful for the community partners that we have that really are tremendous. It's a great program for these students and the connection to the community, but it was not an idle invitation. If you want me to accompany you on a site visit this fall or this winter or next spring or all of the above, contact me and we'll do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I want to thank Mr. Menezes for coming out in the summertime. That's great.
Yes, it's time off.
Next on the agenda is public comment for board agenda items. Do we have any?
There be none.
All right, then the secretary's report, Mr. Ross.
Only thing I just have, my colleagues, is just advising you of the Success Fest, GRPS, and I believe to become partner to encourage families to celebrate the district and our students. That is going to take place this Wednesday, 3 to 7 p.m. at Gerald R. Ford Academic Center. There'll be a free family dinner, inflatables, prizes, raffles, giveaways, and just activities in general. So face and celebrate the district. And Goes for everyone out here, as a matter of fact. 3 to 7 at Jared R. Ford this Wednesday.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Ross. Superintendent's report, Ms. Evans?
And we don't have one at this time?
Great, thank you very much. So next on the agenda are the action items, and the first is the layoff resolution, and I'd like to ask Ms. Pitts if she'd come, or Mickey, or Ms. Savage. Thank you. If you could just give us a little bit of background on this process.
Sure. So every year when we work together with the principals and the budget office for staffing, and we check our enrollment for students, we have to assess where we are with staffing. We do have, always have to take into consideration that we may lose some students every year. And this year, I think we're fortunate. We have fewer layoffs than we've had in the past. So we had to, after we've gone through all of our placement processes for our departments, we do have a few layoffs that we had to bring to you tonight. And the groups are listed here on your agenda. Said it's minimal this year. We're hopeful that in the next month or two, we'll get some more students into the district and we'll be able to recall those people before school starts. But unfortunately, at this time, we do have to bring this resolution to you and ask for your approval to lay off this, these folks at this time.
And consistent with the policy for the non-GREA groups and for the ancillary staff in the GREA group, we made the decisions based on seniority, which is the requirement. But for the teaching staff, we use the criteria that's outlined in the statute, which is that the majority has to be based on their performance evaluation. And then we also looked at additional accomplishments and specialized training. So, and
Certification.
And of course, certification. Some of the people, few, not many, don't have certification that are on the list, and so obviously we would not be able to place them.
Yeah.
Total between the groups is about 90.
90?
Mhm.
How many of those are GREA?
40.
Mr. O'Connor,
Are we provided with the list? Is it?
it's in the packet.
In your packet.
I was in the packet yesterday. It's not in the packet today.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it was in,
It
it
is?
was in, I saw it on
It was
Page 62.
Towards the bottom.
62.
at some point I saw it.
I have it from you. So I thought I
Okay,
saw
I just want to make sure. we
It
had
was there last week already.
I have a question.
Dr. Randalls?
Nope, yeah, there it is. Never mind.
I don't know who had their hand up first. So in regard to, in August of last year, last year we approved this layoff list, and then we had sort of made a contingency list of rehiring 25 people. Sort of making sure that we had adequate staffing for all classes. Is that something that's planned again once we have better idea of numbers, or?
We haven't discussed that with the superintendent yet.
Okay.
So I'm sure that if need be, she would bring that back to you.
Okay, great.
Questions?
Yeah, that was my exact question.
Oh.
I was concerned with the same thing. 'Cause we did talk about the fact of rehiring individuals and calling individuals back.
We will, as we continue to receive, we are still receiving some terminations from employees, voluntary terminations from employees, and if we have someone on the layoff list who meets that certification for that field, we are, we'll be in, as soon as we have those openings, we're immediately recalling. We don't wait.
Okay, you said there were 90 that we're laying off,
Total.
and you said 40 were,
GREA.
GREAs. Some of the, we anticipate that we will call back some youth advocates. There is a redefining and redesigning of the actual position. So once that is done, we anticipate bringing some of those staff members back. We don't know yet how many, but we do anticipate we will be bringing some back.
okay, what is the status of the GREA situation? How do they feel?
In terms of,
in terms of the teachers that may be on this list that's being laid off?
And say more about what is that you're
Yeah,
asking?
what is the I guess I want to make this clear. What is the GREA's concern with the teachers that are on the list that's being laid off?
Well, I don't want to speak for them, but I mean, I'm sure no one wants to be laid off, but we did follow the process that we had outlined, and we have filled all the vacant positions for which we have people that are qualified. And as I said, as positions become open where people have qualifications, we'll refill them. But right now, the people that are on the list, we have a variety of people. Some people don't have their proper certification. Some people don't have the proper certification for the vacancies that we do have open. And are there other scenarios that I've missed?
Yep, I think Dr. Baker was first, and then.
Yeah, just if you could list a couple of the, I know that we've gone through this every year, and I know that many of the people, I know at least a couple of names I see were on the list last year, but then were employed this year. So,
We do have a few, at least one or two people on the list from last year that we laid off, who we were not able to bring back this year because they have one person has a very limited certification area that we just did not have any place, and we still don't. That person had been notified well prior to this year or the prior year that they needed to try to expand their certification for a better opportunity to be placed. We do have a few people on the list who we do intend to bring a termination against because of ineffective performance evaluation. So we have a mixture of some people. And then we have someone who we just haven't been able to accommodate their particular disability. But we are continuing to look and hoping that we might be able to find something as things, as other positions develop.
okay, in the past, there were, this gets to my question, is that there were a handful of reasons that we ended up laying people off, but then it was unlikely that they wouldn't be brought back by
Right.
September. So
Right.
there'd be, can you list some of those, there were we used to have a lot of late summer retirements. Is that an issue as much anymore, and is that likely to occur again that would cause some of these persons to come back?
I think because we changed this year and with your approval, we have expanded the insurance benefits for teachers if they gave us early notification. So we did receive a lot of resignations before the end of June, which was the deadline for that. But we are still getting in fact, we got another one today, so they're still coming in. So we're very hopeful. I can tell you in my tenure here, in the last 4 years, we've laid off every year, and we've ended up recalling and hiring. So I'm optimistic.
Right, okay, so that's what I want to get at. So there's a with a few
With a
exceptions,
few exceptions.
some of these are likely
Yes.
some on the list will likely be,
Probably the
hopefully
majority.
have opportunities to come back, so, that's as well. Secondly is that, I guess, this goes to the enrollment question. This is mostly enrollment driven in terms of there's not enough
Right,
need for classroom teachers or other staff.
right, based on the budget
So,
projections.
and then based on that, then there's likely to be little impact to the students. The students wouldn't notice these layoffs because there would be fewer needed teachers in that or other staff, okay?
Theoretically.
And then the final question is that this is, with that in mind, we have been able to avoid mid-year layoffs mostly. Is this also designed to hopefully avoid mid-year layoffs?
We don't like that at all. and
Okay,
we're
good.
Trying to definitely avoid that.
Okay, I wanted to hear that, thanks.
Yeah.
Ms. Lane?
I think you've answered my question, but, so you didn't have to go back by X number of years, you had to go where there was particular credential issues? Is that correct, or did you lay off the first year?
Oh, no, because remember, in terms of, you mean
So when the
seniority?
people who are getting layoffs, is that because of credentialing, or is that X number of years in the district, or, which used to be the case? I just want to clarify that.
Now, it could be because their credentials, we didn't have a position for what their endorsements were. It could have been because the new tenure law, we have to place those with highly effective and effective evaluations first, so it could be because of their evaluation rating as well.
That's not, we're not
It's not a
allowed to
factor
take that
anymore.
unless there's an absolute tie, and we haven't, found that there was one. Right. Right, yeah.
I think it's important to clarify
Mhm.
for people who are watching us and for the
Yes.
who may not be up in every tenure law.
Right.
Because for many, many, many years, you go by years of service. So
Absolutely.
I think it's important to clarify what we're doing now.
That's
so
right.
that we're not just going flat across the board.
Right.
Exactly.
I have a question. Are any of these positions formerly grant-funded, and we no longer have those grants, or is it not related to that? I guess I was thinking specifically about the family support specialist.
There could be, I would have to check the funding
Yeah,
for each
okay.
position. I don't know the answer
Okay.
to that off the top of my head.
That one, at least from right now, the reason why we laid off everyone in that position is because the position is being reconfigured, and so.
I see.
But I'm not sure about.
Okay.
The family
All
support,
right.
yeah.
About the funding source for that.
Mr. LeGrand?
These numbers in this calculations and, based on projected enrollment loss of what? What number are we working around at this point?
We have to check. No, Larry, off the top of your head? Enrollment loss? Is it
400, I believe. Is it 400?
We're planning around 400? Okay.
Any further questions? Do I have a motion for adoption of the layoff resolution? Support?
Support.
Any further discussion or deliberation regarding the resolution? Seeing none, Mr. Ross, can you please call the vote?
Pastor Moody,
Like Lanny. Yes.
Reverend Matias,
Yes.
Mr. LeGrand,
Yes.
Dr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Slade,
Yes.
Mr. Ross, yes, Dr. Randalls,
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor,
Yes.
President Falk.
Yes.
The layoff resolution passes 9-0.
Thank you, Mr. Ross, and thank you, Ms. Savage and Ms. Pitts. Next on the agenda is the purchasing agenda. Do I have motion for approval?
So moved.
Support for that?
Support.
Any discussion, deliberation?
Yeah, possibly if just, Mr. Oberst could just explain a couple of the, items for the public.
Mr. Oberst, would you come down here to the front? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oberst. Just there's two quite high dollar items on there, just, payments, one for Northview Public Schools and one for Middle Cities, if you could just explain.
Got that one.
Where we,
I think that's tuition.
What page are we on, Mr. O'Connor?
this is, page 7 of the packet.
I don't know that I have my purchasing agenda attached to mine. The Northview's, why don't you just read them to me, Mr. O'Connor?
Payment for contract for 2014-15 special education, non-resident tuition for Business Services Department at a total cost of $450,000. One vendor, Northview Public Schools.
Yeah, we, our special education in the county, as you know, is jointly provided by us, ISD, and Northview Schools. So the programs that Northview Schools provide for the county that we have students in, they charge us tuition. That's our payment for them, just like we charge other districts tuition for services we provide for their students.
Just want the public to understand that,
Yeah.
why we're paying another
Yeah,
school. That
that's-
I
yeah,
understand,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's important that they know too.
Exactly.
Since this didn't go through finance here. Second is just the support materials payment of GRPS 2014-15 contribution and MCEA membership dues for the Business Services Department at a total of $518,744 to Middle Cities Risk Management Trust.
Oh, yeah, that's part of our insurance. Various insurances are provided through that trust, and that's payment for those premiums, if you will.
Any further questions?
I just have one. You don't have to answer it right now because you probably don't have this information. I would be interested, though, in pursuing the special ed costs. I know that's the total communication program, and it's usually very costly because they have somebody with them all the time. But I'm interested in the number of students that we have, and I know you may not have that off the top of your head, but if you can get back to me
Yeah, I
with that,
will.
I appreciate it.
Any further questions? Seeing none, Mr. Ross, can you please call the vote?
Pastor Moody,
Yes.
Mr. Mateus,
Yes.
Mr. LeGrand,
Yes.
Dr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Slade,
Yes.
Mr. Ross, yes, Dr. Randalls,
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor,
Yep.
President Faub.
Yes.
Purchasing agenda passes 9-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Albers. Do I have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Support?
Support.
Mr. Ross?
Pastor Moody,
Yes.
Reverend Matias,
Yes.
Mr. LeGrand,
Yes.
Dr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Slade,
Yes.
Mr. Ross, yes, Dr. Randalls,
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor,
Yes.
President Faub.
Yes.
Consent agenda passes 9-0.
No discussion items. Mr. Ross, do we have a card for public comment?
We have none.
Superintendent's comments?
None.
Ms. Evans? Board members' comments? Ms. Slade?
None tonight on this wonderful evening of heat. Thank you for the heat.
It's cold in here.
Dr. Randalls?
No comment.
Mr. LeGrand?
No comment.
Reverend Matias?
We did have a Children's First meeting that was attended by about 14 pastors in the community that are interested in partnering with the public schools, and it was very exciting to hear some of the information in regards to attendance and just some of the partnerships there. So that was very exciting to see community involvement of our parishes within our schools. So.
Mr. Ross?
No comment.
Dr. Baker?
Oh, I really enjoyed hearing about the Academy of Construction Design today, and the partnerships was great. That's it.
No comment.
Reverend Moody? And none for me. Meeting adjourned. Good evening. My apologies.
Exactly, yes.
If you could just state your name.
My name is Carol Reenstra, and I am on the Restorative Justice Coalition of West Michigan Board.
Spell your name, please. Can you spell your name, please?
Rienstra.
Thank you.
Carol.
Thank you.
And I, along with several people, attended some trainings earlier this summer in June for restorative practices. And the idea was that we were being trained in order to become practitioners in one of 3 pilot schools related to, well, it was either Alger Campus Elementary or Gerald R. Ford Middle School. And we were being trained to help out with discipline types of issues according to the way it was presented. We are very thankful that we're hearing more about reducing suspensions and expulsions by having a more restorative approach to discipline. We wonder, though, if there is an adequate preparation for that in terms of the public as well as faculty and staff. And we would like more specifics about the current situation and encourage the board to oversee what is happening on that front in the Grand Rapids Public Schools. Because we stand ready to assist. We are hopeful that we can all work together to help GRPS students succeed and to reduce the number of expulsions and suspensions through more restorative practices. And that's my comment.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Should I turn this into?
Sure, that's just for the minutes. It's helpful. Thank you, sir, for drawing our attention to the problem. You could give us your name.
My name is Chuck Scala. I too am here to speak about the issue of suspensions and expulsions. I wrote a letter. I got a response. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you for your letter.
I'm a volunteer foster grandparent at my local neighborhood school. The way we work as foster grandparents, we're assigned to a classroom. We're assigned to a handful of individual students who we work with one-on-one. One boy who I worked with this past year, I worked with 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, one-on-one. we get attached in that kind of a relationship, in that kind of a situation. There's an attachment that develops. It breaks our hearts when our kids get suspended and expelled. It's like we're telling our kids, we don't want you here. It's like we're pushing them away just when they need us the most. And there's so much that we can do academically and behaviorally to help them learn how to be productive, successful students. I've been told that the board is sensitive to these concerns, and we want to use suspensions and expulsions minimally, but perhaps there's a disconnect between that policy here and what's actually happening out there in the field, because that's definitely not what's been happening at the school where I volunteer this past year. And perhaps if you all had hard data, had the numbers of what was happening, and could see how that has been increasing over time, that might help you address the situation. That's my concern. I appreciate you staying over to listen to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scala.
Thank you.
Somebody else.
I'm very impressed with all the collaboration and things that are going on here in Grand Rapids Public Schools. My name is Linda Brower, and I am also on the Restorative Justice Coalition Board and attended the training. I was very impressed with the numbers of people from our community who are very talented, who want to be of any kind of help they can be in supporting you in your efforts. When I taught, it was a while ago, but I taught for 12 years in a small district near Benton Harbor, and we never expelled kids. And I don't know what kinds of pressures people are under right now. But I know that we can't make communities safer by moving problems to the streets, of course. But Carol Reenstra, who just spoke, and myself also attended a 2-day training in Detroit, and her husband Richard was really appreciated, and about restorative justice conferencing, and really want to be of any kind of help we can be to you. But I'm curious, because even though indirectly restorative justice can sometimes get to the why, I am wondering what else, for future reference, is being done. I think I saw 5 or 6 schools that are doing positive behavior intervention supports, at least in one of their reports, but I just wonder if we are trying to, when I would observe students at times in classes, I was amazed to find out, when the student didn't show up in the lunchroom, and I'd think, well, where did she go? And then we found out later she'd been being bullied, and sometimes if, teachers only know what goes on in the classroom, they may not know what their day looks like, or what kinds of disabilities and things might be affecting behavior. And I know for a fact, having been a teacher, we don't have eyes in the back of our heads, even though we'd like people to think so. I really appreciate your dedication and all the hard work, and if there's any way we can be of help to you and what you're trying to do, please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bauer.
Thank you.
What else do we have here?
Reverend Albert Hamstra, Miss Mindy Hamstra, and I believe we have one more card coming forth there.
Hamstra. I'm a minister in the Christian Reformed Church.
Evening.
And I'm also I'm a member at Coit Community Christian Reformed Church. I'm the president of the Micah Center, which is a coalition of 44 churches and other organizations here in Grand Rapids that look at social justice issues. And I'm also a member of the Michigan Prophetic Voices, which is a group of faith leaders in the state. One of the issues that we're looking at, both at my church and at the Micah Center and with the Michigan Prophetic Voices, is how the expulsion of children from schools contributes to the school to prison pipeline, especially for young Black and Hispanic boys. So this is an enormous concern that we have, and I'm sure that you share as well. And we are working in Michigan with different schools in Detroit area, Flint, different parts of the state, to see what we can do to try to get some action from our state legislature to free up school systems in our state, so that schools like ours here in Grand Rapids have more freedom in ways in which to respond to discipline issues besides expulsion of children, especially small children, which we believe is just tremendously unhelpful for those children. So thank you for your efforts to do whatever you can to find a better way to deal with the discipline issues in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Hamstra.
Thank you.
Mindy Hamstra.
Hi, my name is Mindy Hamstra, and I'm a member of Coit Community Church. I'm also married to him, and I'm also a volunteer at Coit Academy, Arts Academy, and I basically this last year had a very young boy of 9 being expelled from school, and even though yes, it was a very serious issue, a very serious offense, well, a threatened offense. Just felt like there something else, surely something else could have been done, rather than send this boy home to not being supervised and possibly being alone. So I just find that would be tremendously unhelpful for him. So just want to encourage you and ask that you do whatever you can to facilitate restorative justice in our discipline system in the public schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the final is Reverend Jerome Burton.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, I'm Jerome Burton, pastor of Court Community Church. I volunteer at Court Community School for over 20 years. And I started up under the leadership of Dr. Chan, who really helped me understand what the community, how that work, and how we partner with each other to help children and help families to become better, and coming alongside each other to strengthen the families, and we do that, we strengthen the community. And I am very concerned that for our children being expelled from school, when they do that, I think that we put the parents at a disposition because they are not ready to come from work to assist being able to find a babysitter, things of this nature. In fact, many of the parents that I have talked to are not going to have their children come back in Pacific Court Community Church, the school, but in general, I'm speaking on behalf of restorative justice, because I want to see us work with our children to help them to be able to articulate and be educated in the school. And I think that kids being exposed, especially from kindergarten to the 5th grade, and so I saw so many kids this past year being exposed, and because I think that I don't know if it's because the teacher don't know how to handle them or what, but I know that exposing our kids, set them up for prison, and especially when you talk about black and brown kids. And that's why, I really, for over 21 years, I have been volunteering, specifically at Court Community School, because I wants to have a picture showing them that something different, you know what I'm saying, where a father, where a man, not only just as a Christian man, but a man in general that works hard and love his family, and that they can be productive. And that's why, I try to be there and come with a different tactic, where that I'm encouraging these kids, that they can be someone in life, and they can be productive and give back to their society. And so I'm for restored justice and finding a way, how can we block this from prison, from the cradle to prison. And so I'm very concerned that for our young children going to prison are being set up to go to prison when we is exposing them, and they cannot be able to be educated. And so I hope that you all will take that in consideration and really think through how can we better keep our kids in school, whether we set up an attention hall or whatever, especially for kids from first grader to eighth grader, So we need to look into how can we better assist our students, our parents, and also our community. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to apologize again for
Got one
the
more.
inability for, do we have one more?
We got one more here.
Oh, great.
And that is it?
Good evening. Very happy to be here. My name is Irma Menchaca, and I'm a social worker with Grand Rapids Public Schools. I have been for 18 years, and within these 18 years, as itinerant staff, we're moved. So I've been all the way from birth to 3, all the way to high school. And I worked 4 years with juvenile detention. And what we have heard a few minutes ago is all true. Our kids are kicked out, and I have a possible addition to helping make the team stronger. Last week I went to a seminar put on by Scott Larson. His topic was effectively engaging high-risk youth. He's worked with kids that are in different detention places for over 20 years. He's written many books about bringing our kids back in, about strengthening our community and our staff's ability to do that, just to open up their world to bringing in these kids. So I would suggest that the board look into Scott Larson. He's out of Massachusetts, but he spoke at Wedgwood last week. And because my heart is also for these kids that are being kicked out, and they're on the streets, and then they're killing each other. And I've cried many tears for my kids. I'm gonna cry again, that were at juvenile detention that I got to know and then were killed on the streets. So these are precious kids, and there are answers. And working as teams from different communities, we can beat this and bring our kids back in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to apologize again for not having the process and procedure. And I want to follow the agenda as it normally would be, so I want to give opportunity for superintendent comment.
Oh, thank you.
And board comment.
Well, I wanted to thank everyone who got to speak for coming out and talking about this. This is certainly something that many of you know is something that's very near and dear to my heart, and I really am going to do everything I can to make sure that my dream is that we reduce suspensions and expulsions to 0. That ultimately, if a kid needs to be out of school, we can let the courts figure that out. We can let GRPS figure that out. They'll be in lockup. But if they're not in lockup, I don't see any good arguments for not having the school system engaged with students. So that's my vision. I hope we can get there. Thanks for coming.
I have a comment.
Reverend Moody?
Yeah, I want to thank you for coming out, and I'm glad we stayed to hear what you all had to say. We also believe in justice, but we also believe that we have a legislature that puts rules in place that sometimes need to be dismantled. And so one thing I think that needs to happen is our senators and our congressmen need to be bombarded by you as well, because I believe everybody on this board is concerned about all of the students, especially the zero tolerance. This is not just a Grand Rapids issue, this is a United States issue. So this is all across the country, so somewhere something is going wrong and something is happening. As Reverend Matias said earlier, he and I sit on a board called Children's First Clergy Council. We had received data. I don't know what type of training you've gotten, but there's data out there that explains what is happening and how this system needs to be changed and how culturally some of the people who are in certain places need to be dismantled or retrained to think differently from how they view zero tolerance to expulsion to academics and to basically the absenteeism rate that we have among our children. So somewhere along the line, our children are not happy with what they are seeing in the classroom, and therefore they are acting out because their culture in their home might be different as well. Thank you for coming and voicing your opinion.
I just want to reiterate some of what Pastor Moody said, that this has been a focus of this board and this superintendent, and I appreciate you coming forward. Meeting adjourned.